Hello everyone, my name is Corazar, and welcome back to the Vintage Story Guide. That's right, we are back in the world in front of our still under construction house, as you can see from these wild camera angles. It's still a bit empty on the inside, but I have been hard at work getting some of the details in. As you can see, I have put in the interior frames for all of the windows, even the ones way up there. I actually ended up modifying what I did on our original window, and that is, I simply just removed this sort of column of planks, and I feel that it gave it just that extra depth that it needed. So we have a sill top and bottom, and we have this sort of inset frame, and I think it looks a lot better for that change. I also modified how the exterior looks. I shrank down the granite dry stone to just a single column here of the, I think, 4x4. Yeah, 4x4. And then I lowered the awning as promised, and I just kind of have the dry stone going up into the awning area. And I think I like it like that a little bit more. And I also have the dry stone also just curling under here a little bit, as if to say it continues across here underneath the sill that hangs down. And I did the same thing over here, although of course since we have the roof right here, I didn't put an extra awning on. So you get to see sort of the overall design of the dry stone right here. I also did manage to carve all of these corner bricks, which was about a 2-hour effort, including some time that I had to make up when my computer decided to just crash, and I have no idea why. Very comforting. New PC crashing already. Wonderful. But I am really liking how this turned out. I even got the corners way up at the top there on the dormers all filled in. And I'm leaving the ladders in place for now because I still have work to do right out here on the window frames and the awnings, as well as eventually to smooth out the roof a bit, and that might be farther down the line. Today, I wanted to focus on something kind of inside the house, but more specifically, under the house. I want to get to work on the basement of our house, because we have a whole lot of things going on over in our starter home over there. We have the smithing and the storage and the leatherworking and all manner of things, and it's getting really crowded in there. And I want to move at least some of that over here to the new house and get this sort of move-in process going. And to that end, I think I want to start with the basement because I don't have enough materials for the second or higher floors yet still. I've been working on a bit of quicklime over there in the starter home, and I've worked on some other resource gathering, but I've mostly been chiseling for the past few days. By working on the cellar here, we'll be doubling up on making the cellar and gathering more materials at the same time, which means that when we come out of it, we might end up with enough limestone to go ahead and make enough quicklime for the interior. I think the basement for this house needs to be about the same size and shape as the house itself, just, one floor lower. And the reason is that we need several different areas for our basement. One, we need some bulk storage. We need a big storage area for sorting out all of our belongings into more than just plants, stone, clay, and whatever other labeled chests we have over in the starter home. That just isn't going to suffice in the long term because there are tons of stone types, there are tons of wood types, there are so many things we just don't even have yet that we will eventually need room for, and especially when we get into larger projects and I want to manage and store enough materials to just start working on them all at once and not have to make constant breaks for, I don't know, gathering more slate, then we need to have a place to store all that. But that isn't all. I think we're also going to want to have room for a few other things. We're going to want to move our leatherworking over here, and while this won't be the permanent home for it because leatherworking is stinky work, I want to have an external location for that, like a little leatherworking house over there somewhere, I think. But we'll move it in here for now, as well as I think I want to have a corner for dyeing things, because dyeing is a thing in the game now. There is a whole range of colors you can dye fabric and use that to make all manner of clothing, and so I think a dedicated area for dyeing would be great. In addition, while we also want a cellar like we have over in the starter home for long-term food storage, we also want to have a sort of curing and drying cellar so that we can start making things like cheese and salting and pickling vegetables and meat and so on and so forth. So I might actually want 2 cellars, and I think this outback patio might be a handy location to ensure that we have a stone roof that we're not going to remove, and then build a cellar underneath it, maybe even 2, split it down the middle. Now, I've also been thinking of how to get in and out of the basement, and while I do definitely want a stairwell inside the house right here, I also would like to have an external entrance so that if we are coming in from outside and need to go right to our storage room, we don't have to go in here, come around in this room, and fiddle our way through here and down the stairs here. I want to have a direct route into the cellar, so I think I want to put a cellar door right here next to the regular side door. In addition, I might also want to put a direct route down from the kitchen via a ladder, but then again, with the cellar staircase right here and possibly putting the cellar itself right down here, that might not end up being necessary. So we'll kind of revisit that when we're done with the cellar. So, as always, when we start these projects, let's get digging. Perfect. Now let's light it up. And now we're going to go deeper, because this is going to be a very short cellar if we leave it as it is. And I want probably a 4 if not 5 block tall cellar, and we are going to need to include an extra ceiling block in most places, especially in the cellar itself, the actual food cellar, so that we don't end up with wood as a ceiling, which would cause the cellar not to function. So I'm going to go get my backup shovel, and we're going to get back to it. And now that we have a monopoly on the world's dirt, it's time to break down some of this, well, all of this, limestone. And this will be very handy for making plaster and mortar later. And there we have it. One basement all mined out. And that only took about half an hour of real time, and it was about, I don't know, most of an in-game night, a little bit more. So, not bad. And what we'll do eventually is we will put a stone roof in, and that will make this 5 blocks tall. And for now, we'll deal with the limestone rock floor, but eventually we'll come in and mine this out, and we'll put some other kind of floor in here. Maybe cobblestone, maybe brick, I'm not really sure yet. And we will also, again, for now, deal with the dirt walls, but we will come in with something else as I get inspired to do so. Now, we have a ton of torches down there to keep it well lit, but those only last 2 days, and I don't want to have to come back and go back to the old days of popping up torches off the walls and hanging them up again. So we are going to dig into our molybdochalcos stash, and we are going to hammer us out some plates for some more lanterns, because we have plenty of... We had glass. Ah, there you are. We have plenty of glass, and we also have more than enough candles. And I'm also pretty sure that our bees are probably ready to be harvested because it's been a few days. So I'm going to go ahead and work on these plates and get them all brightened up into lanterns. With our 4 lanterns, let's go and light up all the dark corners of our new basement. Looks bright to me. The first thing we want to do, before we start carving the space up into distinct areas, is to sort out our stairwells, because we don't want to build our rooms and then tear them right back out to make room for the stairs. So, with this as our entry, let's put the door Actually, let's give this a bit more room to breathe. Much better. Oh, and a medium temporal storm. How nice. Okay, stairs go in like that, and that. And then the door goes... Let's spin it around. There. Perfect. We all need to do something about this gap, though. We're going to have our entrance right here, so we'll enter and then be on a landing right here, which we'll start out building with some shale cobblestone slabs, after we make them. So let's start with this, and then we'll bring it out one more so it's not so cramped, but also so we can have the stairs come straight down from the room up there and meet on the same landing before going down into the basement proper. For the stairs going down from the landing... No, not like that. Guess we'll start from the ground and use some dirt as scaffolding for now. Like so. We might widen this out, but I don't want to have an entrance to the basement that's too grand because, well, it's just a basement. For the stairs between the landing and the first floor, we're going to use walnut since it's the same material as the floor above, and we don't want the stairs suddenly changing material halfway down. And now we bust out the ceiling, or the floor, depending on where you're standing, I guess. Oh, weird. I can go up, but I can't get back down. We'll just take you out and solve that little problem. We'll bring these stairs up to a small landing here, then turn and continue on up. And done. I could do another landing and turn to get rid of this awkward step that just sort of stops at the wall, but I don't want to eat up too much of this room. Maybe we'll change it later, but for now it stays. I didn't really intend to do this, but now that I think about it, this stairwell and landing actually do something handy. They split up this into the basement a bit, creating two separate spaces. Maybe we'll put the dyeing area over here, and then something else on the other side. And as we listen to the drifters sing us the hymn of their people, let's discuss where to put the cellar. It's going to go along this back wall here, and I think I'm going to build a little hallway to it after we sort of figure out where it needs to go. Take a look at above to see where the patio extends to. I think it's about... we're about over here, 2 blocks to the right of the door. But I'll go check. And it goes about 9 blocks, but I forget. Oh, hello, boys. Quite the party. And... Oh, there's the window again. Ah, so weird. Okay, anyway, so it goes to here. And we got the number. And that lines up with this block right here, 890. So we'll put that there. Get stuck on the lantern. And we'll come mark this side over here. And that gives us 1, 2, 3, 4, 9 block wide area to work with. Which means we can make 2 smallish but equal-sized cellars. And the middle should be right about here, giving us a, what, a 5 wide by 3 deep room if we branch off of a little hallway. So I'm going to go ahead and get this dug out, and then we'll take a look at what we have. Okay, and we have our little hallway dug out, and at the end we have our 2 cellars. We have one over here, and this will be our main food cellar. They're both 3 by 5 by 4, and I think along this back wall here we'll have our vessels as well as back here by the door, and then we'll have some shelves above them on the back, and maybe something even above that. I'm not sure yet. Maybe a second row of shelves, and also over the door. And I might come in with some molding, just make this room feel a little more cramped. I like small cellars, because they should be kind of small, right? Then over here will be our food prep for doing things like curing cheese, and salting meat, and pickling vegetables, and all that kind of jazz. Over here, I think we'll do the dyeing area, like I said I was going to before. And we'll bring this sort of stairwell area down, and sort of block this off a little bit to see what we have to work with. Maybe a kind of column here. Not sure yet. And then over here, we'll have our kind of work area, at least for now. It might turn into leatherworking or something else that's not dyeing and not storage and not food preservation. But for now, we'll just have a nice big area here to work with. And then down this direction is where we will have our mass storage. And we're going to put a lot of chests in here. And I'm going to get to work on sort of figuring out how to space things out, because while we will end up with sort of rows of shelves, I want to make it navigable. Some basements are just too cramped or too broad, and I don't want to have any of that. Okay, I have been hard at work getting this basement set up and laid out. And so we have a landing here first, and I'm kind of putting this together with maybe a little sort of overlook out into the workshop area over there, which I have that chest down there right now for building materials and keeping things close. And then we have this sort of flange area here of the stairs where I'm going to chisel off these sort of corners. And then we have this 3-wide hallway down between the rows of chests on either side. And I originally had a couple designs using only a 1-block wide walkway here, but it was just too claustrophobic, and I didn't like it. And we're not going to have as much storage this way, but I'd like it better. And then over here, we will have 1-block wide walkways, and these areas of chests will have chests facing opposite directions so that they're all facing a walkway, an aisle. And then on this back wall here, we're going to have our crates for the sort of large storage of single items, especially once we get the more advanced chests, when we get things like purple heart wood, ebony, and so on. And then over here, because we have the entrance to our cellars, we're not going to have the outermost row of chests go the whole way out. So we have a little bit of a walkway, a little bit of breathing room over here. And then over in this area, I think we'll find something for it. I think maybe armor stands. We can put the armor that we're actually going to wear out here, you know, in contrast to the armor that we keep above for decoration. And then I'm working on just sort of spacing out how much room we're going to have in this dyeing area. It doesn't need to be very large, but we also don't want it to be too cramped. I think there are only about 10 or so colors. And I've laid out these dirt blocks here to indicate where I want to have sort of bookends. I'm going to make pillars out of probably pine, because it's such a nice warm tone in contrast to the very gray walls, the dirt notwithstanding, because that won't be here when we're done. So I'm going to build out some of this stuff, and I'll probably have to make a few resource runs, and then I'll bring you all back to show you our progress. Oh boy, did I get a little carried away, I think. Let me show you what I've got. It's been a minute. So, I have finished off this landing a bit. I put in this fence here so we can much more easily overlook this sort of work area. And I brought down the plaster walls down to this level, so that way you don't descend the staircase and just suddenly have the basement walls. That we have sort of this landing as a barrier area. And then you get down into the basement proper, where we have all manner of exposed framework along with these bookend columns here. And I went a little ham. In fact, I went the whole ham, maybe even the whole hog. And I took a whole bunch of our relieved limestone blocks and I turned them into bricks. And then I made a limestone brick ceiling, and I really like it. Then I came in here with this crown molding, out of regular granite cobblestone stairs, and I ran that the whole way around the edge of the room with a bit of chiseling here and there to make certain areas line up, like right here. So you get this kind of funny texture shift because of the way the chisel shifts textures. Obviously, as you can see, I have a whole bunch of chests in here, and this represents something like, I don't know, 3 or 4 stacks of wood, or stacks of logs. It's going to be a while before I have enough chests to actually fill this thing up. I ran out of wood, at least wood that I'm willing to part with, and I'm going to have to sort of fill this up over time, and maybe even make a few special trips to go and maybe knock down all those maple trees in the forest. For now, I'm leaving the walls and the floor alone, and we'll come in and we will fill those in before we finish the chests up, because if we don't, then the walls will be hard to reach behind all the chests, so we'll do the walls first, but it doesn't have to happen tonight. And same goes for the floor. I think I might actually use some of the limestone brick in the floor, maybe with an extra pattern here in the middle out of, I don't know, some polished shale. And then, of course, back here, as I've been teasing this whole time, we have this dyeing nook. Ugh, dead. Oh, no, not that kind of dyeing. Now, this is a small room full of, I think we have 10 barrels, and that should line up with the colors. There might be 1 or 2, or we might have extras. I'm not really sure. I didn't actually look it up. Oops. But we have plenty of room here for doing all the dyeing we need. And I might sneak in a water source block here somewhere, maybe even dig it into the floor so that it's not obvious from the outside. And because I was already going ham, I figured why not have some beans and potatoes with it, and I started a little bit of chiseling around the window frames just to make them look a little less lost in there, as well as here in the door frame, just to make it, again, look a little more natural, a little less blocky. And then I decided that over here, well, one, this little area is just going to get blocked up. We're going to pretend like the wall above comes down right in here, and we're just going to finish this off. We'll use this little wall for a tool rack. I'll make a whole bunch more tool racks, and we'll be able to hang up all of our tools here and have access to them right down here next to our work area, which still is just sort of our current work area. Oh, I do have one more stack of pine logs, but that's about it. So this is then the start of our basement, and I'm going to let our items percolate into here, and I'll come in with maybe some malachite and do some green letters on our chests this time instead of the limestone that we're using in our current home. Well, everyone, I think that's where we're going to leave it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed our little adventure in building this basement and getting some of its details ironed out. In the next couple episodes, I want to sort of shift focus to something that I've been thinking about for a while, and to give you a hint, it involves something with the room right behind me. So we'll come back to that in the next episode. Anyway, as always, my name has been Corazar. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.